on this beautiful, almost spring-like morning. Thanks for being here. We're going to start off our service this morning by singing Building Bridges. And for those of you who like to look along in the book, it's number 1023, and it is a round. So we'll be singing it through once all the way through. The lyrics will be up here, and then after that we'll go through, and this side will sing the first part, and Lisa will bring you in on the second part. And on this side. So this side the first part, this side the second part. Good.
Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
Friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
Good morning. Come in. Come into this place which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all of your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are called to be. Come into this place where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together we make it a holy place. And now let us take a moment for our land acknowledgement. Today we are gathered on the unceded ancestral lands of the Duwamish people who are still here, carrying forward cultural practices and wisdom that have stewarded this land and surrounding waters for generations. Let us feel ourselves firmly grounded on the land beneath us. Let us remember that we did not arrive here by chance, but as the beneficiaries of laws that displaced the Duwamish from their homes, banned them from gathering their food, and strove to erase their language and culture. In this acknowledgement, let us have the courage to consider our role in the repair of this legacy of violence and erasure. Thank you. And whoever you are, wherever you have come from, whatever the color of your skin, whoever and however you love, however your body moves and your brain works, however you identify, you are welcome in this faith community. Our Unitarian Universalist tradition has no creed or oath to swear. We have instead the promises we make to heal a hurting world, commitments within and beyond our walls, and to one another. Thank you.
Good morning. And now we will light our chalice, but we're having a low-tech moment. Bring out the big matches. we're having a science moment, actually, is what we're having. So our chalice lighter today, who's going to attempt to light the match, which I could not, that flame went out. I think they're a little damp. Where are the big lighters when we need them? So while this little distraction is happening, let me explain, because I can see lots of new faces today, which is just lovely. So this chalice is the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist heritage. May its heat energize us for the work that is ours to do. May its light make our vision clear and bright. May its warmth comfort us always. This morning, as we light this flame, we mark this time as sacred time. We mark this space as sacred space. Let us share in all of this together. And now, as Mike, our chalice lighter, lights our chalice, please join me in speaking the words of our congregation's affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, thus to covenant with one another. Thank you, Mike and Leilani and Shannon, for making the flame. So welcome everybody to the Westside Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I am Lisa Reitzes, a member of the worship team, and it is a great joy to be gathering with you for this service today on the theme of Bread and Roses, about the role of work in our lives. Our time together this morning will end with our Board of Trustees offering a mid-year report summarizing their good work on behalf of the congregation. If you're with us for the first time or the first time in a while, welcome. We're so glad you're here to share in this time, to make some space in your life, to attend to your heart and your spirit, to come together in this community. Please visit our website, which you can do by scanning the QR code on the card in the pews, where you can fill out a welcome form so we can get to know you a bit better and send you our electronic newsletter, The Westside Week. It is good to see familiar and many new faces today, so now let's take a few moments to greet the neighbors around you. As always, it is so good to see such enthusiastic greetings. We hope you'll continue these conversations after the service downstairs at the coffee hour. So each week, congregants who agree to light our chalice are invited to respond to a question, which is a chance to get to know them better and to bring more voices into our chancel. So Mike Blome, who we've already met, one of our newest members, has been asked, what does being a Unitarian Universalist mean to you during this season of your life? Mike.
Yes, I'm a brand new member here since late last year. Thank you. It's great to be here. Let's get my notes here. Yeah, so, as I contemplated the question, I did feel a little bit like a newlywed, being asked about married life, and I haven't really cut the cake yet. But, I thought about my connection to the church, and when I first started coming here with Lisa, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, it was actually it was difficult for me because to see all the love and support that the congregation gave to its kids was very touching to me, and it was difficult because my own son and family relationship, I hadn't been able to provide that in the way that I really would have liked. So we had a very challenging a time of it for a while, for a few years, and I was very blessed, just kind of out of the blue, to be introduced to the practice of nonviolent communication. And through, just basic stuff, like I didn't become an expert, it's just like listening, repeating, making sure, that I understood my son. And I have to say, it took a lot of work over the years. We have a really great relationship now. It's very open and trusting, and so I learned from that repair is possible. And so it was very heartening to me when the church, when I saw that, because I know a little bit about everything you've gone through over the past few years, so to see when you decided to bring an NVC consultant, it was very heartening, because I knew it really works, or it can, at least it just told me that there was a seriousness about how do we actualize the principles, and how do we make this stuff work. And I'm very kind of practical minded myself, and also, pretty dense. And I know it's like I have principles, I'm a nice person, but how do I actually make it work is a whole other thing. And that's, to me, what I need to focus on. So when I saw the church doing that, and I attended the workshop, and it was a great refresher course, and I do need pretty regular refresher courses like that. So it just felt like a real connection, and I think that kind of led to me wanting to, just kind of formalize a little bit more. So that's my story. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thanks so much for your sharing, Mike. So in a moment, we will engage in a collective act of generosity known as our offering, when we take time to actively support Westside UU congregation and its many ministries with our gifts of by text, check, or cash. Each month, we choose a community organization to share 1/3 of our undesignated gifts, offering gifts, that is, those donations not designated as your pledge contributions. For the month of January, our community giving recipient is the Northwest Immigrant Rights Project, which promotes justice by defending and advancing the rights of immigrants through direct legal services, systemic advocacy, and community education. NWIRP's legal services help thousands of immigrants in Washington state navigate the complexities of the U.S. immigration system so they can apply for asylum or other forms of immigration protection. So you can give by text by sending a message with the $sign and the amount you want to give to the number on the screen. For folks here in the sanctuary who'd prefer to share your gifts by cash or check, the greeters will move among us shortly. If you'd like your gift to be recorded as coming from you, please use one of the envelopes in the pews. And now please enjoy this gift of music, Bread and Roses, composed by Carolyn Colsatt with lyrics by James Oppenheim. The phrase bread and roses emerged before World War I during a time of intense labor and women's suffrage movements. It was a popular rallying cry in demonstrations after the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire in New York City and the Lawrence, Massachusetts textile workers' strikes. Thank you.
As we go marching, marching in the beauty of the day, a million darkened kitchens, a thousand mailboxes gray are touched with all the radiance that a
Thank you, everyone, for giving of yourself. Thank you for our musicians. I get chills every time I hear that song. So each week when we gather together, we take a moment to make collective space for the holding of the joys and sorrows of this community. As a reminder, if you would like a joy or sorrow to be shared from the pulpit here, you can find the form to submit that on our website or contact me directly. We have no individual joys or sorrows to share today, but we lift up all the concerns that we hold in our hearts. And our hearts especially go out to all those mourning loved ones as casualties of war this year around our world and especially in the Middle East. Let us lift each other up in love and all of our neighbors in the human community. Please join me in a spirit of meditation and prayer. These words are from Adam Slate. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, Spirit of hope, Spirit of justice, God known by many different names, you have given us a day unique from any other. You have connected us, all of us, with each other and the world in ways that are largely a mystery to us. You have given us little instruction other than to be present in our own lives, to feel wonder at the creation of the universe, and to love one another. You have put gifts and challenges in our paths, joys and sorrows, strengths and frailties, some of which we have already encountered and others we have yet to discover. On this unique day, may we receive exactly what it is that we need. Amen. And let us hold for a moment this silence together, followed by lifting our voice in song.
With our theme today of work, I immediately thought of this poem, To Be of Use by Marge Piercy, published in 1982. The people I love the best jump into work head first without dallying in the shadows and swim off with sure strokes almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves, an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and the muck to move things forward, to do what has to be done again and again. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out. The work of the world is as common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing well has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real. As with many poems, different things stand out every time I hear or read these lines by Marge Piercy. Today, the words that jump up for me are, "The people I love the best," and "I want to be with people." They have made me think about the number of times in school, in the workplace, and especially in a voluntary community such as ours, I have said yes to signing on for kinds of work because I wanted to be with the people who were already doing it and asking me to join. Wanted to hang out with the cool people who I hope to get to know better. Wanted to emulate the dedication and creativity of those who are really good at the small things as well as the big vision. Wanted to learn new skills and new language, and decided to put myself with people who could show me how what needs to be done is done again and again. I can't imagine being in community in any other way. How about you? A pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real.
Thank you. So there is this delightful little series of novellas that my friends and I have gotten into in recent years. It's the Monk and Robot series from Becky Chambers. Maybe someone's heard of it, maybe not. It is this story set in a land. It is not clear if it is Earth or some kind of parallel world, but it is a distant post-industrial future. In the people's history, they tell about this moment where there was a great rupture. All the robots gained consciousness and walked off the job out into the woods, never to be seen again. And so it took some time of transition, and it was a difficult period, but a few generations later, humans have found a way to thrive while living within the constraints of their environment. They live in tightly knit communities where people take care of one another, and everyone's basic needs are provided for, and everyone has an important role to play in caring for their community. Chambers basically imagines the lives and adventures of people who have essentially already achieved beloved community. The story follows a tea monk named Dex, whose job is to travel from village to village, serving homebrewed tea and offering them a listening ear. It's basically part herbalist, part chaplain. This book is really interesting to me because it proposes a utopia where work is an important part of people's lives and how they find purpose. But it is work chosen freely out of a sense of vocation and not coerced in any way. It is a moving meditation on purpose, and I won't get into the plot, but that's a big theme of the book, and Dex is asking a lot of questions about what is my purpose. And it reminds me of this quote from Howard Thurman: "Do not ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive and do that, because what the world needs is people who have come alive." It's really embodied in this story. But it is so striking to me because the vision in this book and in this quote is of a world where that is possible for people, and that is so different from our world. It is troubling, the distance between our reality and that one. This January, our worship theme for the month is purpose, and I want to try in some small way to talk about the role of work in our lives and how it connects to our purpose. We live in a time of unprecedented, rapid change in the way humans relate to work. There's a lot happening. There's a renaissance of unions and labor movements that we see in the news all the time. There's this ongoing debate about hybrid and remote work. There's this rise in the gig economy, a growing consciousness of the role of care work in our world and how it's been long undervalued. There are stories about work in the news all the time, and they impact us in very real ways. And this is too big of a topic to do in any one sermon, but our relationship to work is something I think about a lot, so I want to do a little today. Mainly, I want to propose that we should all be paying attention to the spiritual implications of work in our lives and in the lives of our neighbors. To be clear, I'm thinking about work quite broadly. Like in Lisa's poem, I believe that as humans we have a natural urge to put forth effort into the world, to contribute to our communities, to care for our loved ones, and to express ourselves creatively. So work is all of these things. But in this world that we live in, we often have to do work that is labor on the labor market for a job, but that's not the only type of labor I'm talking about. So when I say that work has spiritual value, I also don't want you to think that I mean it's more valuable than things like rest and play. These are undervalued in our culture. And I don't want you to think that work defines our worth either. Work is an important part of our lives, and we are so much more than our work. So when I talk about the spiritual value of work, I am talking about the giving of ourselves to the world. It is how we take care of each other, how we recognize a need and respond to it, how an idea bubbles up from within us and we follow that urge to bring something new into the world. It's life-giving. So, until we live in a world where everyone is taken care of and people can work in ways that fill them and contribute to the needs of their neighbors. What can we do in our world with our constraints? First and foremost, there is a workers' rights struggle happening in our communities every day that we can be a part of. Whatever our social location, our voices are needed. I'm talking to you who hold positions of power to influence change. You are needed to use that power compassionately. And I am talking to you who are stuck in bad working conditions. You are needed to share your voice and your wisdom. We can all advocate for fair wages and benefits for all, flexible working arrangements, care for those who can't work, and a myriad other policies that help each other get by. The more that people are cared for by their society, the more that their labor is valued, the more people are able to share their gifts with the world and to come alive. I want to live in a world full of people who have come alive. This service is titled Bread and Roses, and Lisa shared some of the background behind that song. But it is this slogan that insists that workers deserve not only to get by and be fed, but also that we all deserve to enjoy the richness of life symbolized in the rose. Open yourself to recognize this struggle in your own experience. There is a yearning in each of us to provide for ourselves and our families and to enjoy the sweetness of life. And in our individual lives, there are lots of ways we can reach for a more holistic relationship to work. I often look to Buddhism just because that is part of my own practice. And in Buddhism, there is this concept of right livelihood. It's one of the tenets of the Eightfold Path that leads to liberation. Most traditionally, quite basically, right livelihood is about engaging in work that does not cause harm. And many Buddhist teachers take it further by saying that we have a responsibility to be generous with our labor and to recognize the impact that our actions have on the world and to act accordingly. So there is spiritual practice in reflecting on the impact our work has on the world, and to the extent that it is possible, choosing work that has a good impact and reduces harm. And I have a lot more to say. I'm probably not going to share everything I wrote this morning. We have a board mid-year report to get to. But I hope we can all take time to reflect on the impact of our work and also find ways to appreciate the work that we do and set intentions, especially when that work is meaningful to us. And there are so many ways to do this. There are ways that we can take a moment of centering before we set down to a task. We do this in our committees when we light our chalice. There's important work that we do in our congregation to share in setting that intention. And so I'm going to close out. And I have a blessing for all of us because we have work of the congregation to talk about with our board today. So thank you for listening to this reflection. And if there's more you want to share about with me, share your thoughts, we can explore this further in the future. Here's a blessing for us. May we each find ways to give of ourselves to one another. May we find meaning and purpose in the process. May our labor be recognized and valued by others. And may we know that our value is so much more than our labor. May we work with intentionality and aliveness, and may we take time for rest and play. And may we all have access to bread and roses too. Amen, and may it be so.
Thank you, Reverend Carter. Thank you all for being here today. It's an important day as we hear from our board. I want to express gratitude to Scott and to the chorale, to John Hanson, to Cindy for the wonderful story, to Mike for the reflection and chalice lighting, to Nate and Henry up in the booth running our tech, to our ushers and hospitality team downstairs. As always, it's a pleasure and blessing to do this sacred work together on our Sundays.
Thank you, John. I wanted to break out in song there. These foolish things remind me. Okay, we're not talking about foolish things this morning, though. We're talking about our mid-year report. My name is Tracy Burrows. I am really the co-president with Laura White of the congregation this year. And our agenda for today, next slide, is that we're going to give an update. We hope you'll learn a lot about what we're trying to accomplish this year and ways that you can contribute. You may have questions, thoughts, ideas, and we'll entertain those downstairs in the social hall after our presentation. So we'll be giving our report, then Shelley Webb is going to give the finance and budget overview, and then we'll go downstairs for coffee and conversation. If you haven't seen one of Shelley's presentations, your socks will be blown off, I guarantee it. If you are watching from somewhere remote, you can email us, board@wsuu.org, with your questions or comments as you wish.
Morning, everybody. I want to make sure that you all know about our volunteer board. And here are our fabulous board members, Tracy, who you've been introduced to many times, myself, Jim Schlau, who is our treasurer, Lisa Maynard, our secretary, Laura Strand, trustee, and John Hornby, trustee, and Jennifer Disatel, trustee. And each one of these individuals has multiple functions, not just what's listed there. So there are people who step up in many ways to support our congregation. I think next slide would be great. So in August, our board got together and we thought very carefully about what makes a strong, vibrant community. And we began to develop a larger vision of what West Guide could be, which is collective and inclusive, involving all members and friends of the community, now that we have a fabulous part-time minister. Our main areas of focus, we decided, would be personal connections, healthy relations, minister and staff, RE program, growth, community outreach, budget and operations, and volunteer leaders. We're going to focus on a few of these areas today, and additional copies of our plan, our goals and objectives will be downstairs, and you can see them and come chat with us at the board table downstairs during coffee hour. Thank you. Lisa.
I'm going to talk about personal connections. At the core of any strong congregation are personal relationships and a welcoming culture for newcomers. So here are some steps that the board has taken this year to strengthen person-to-person connections. Well, our excellent Sunday services, which we have twice a week, they offer a regular social hour for friendship opportunities, thanks to our generous hospitality committee. The fall in-gathering in September included a volunteer fair to encourage participation and new connections in committees and small groups, which I highly recommend connecting in small groups. It's a great way to do it. We've had potluck lunches, especially around our seasonal decorating and undecorating of the sanctuary, the greening. And then with Shannon's help, and Laura, I would say also, we developed a Find Your People flyer for newcomers to more easily connect to a meaningful small group or activity. And then we're also exploring with Reverend Carter some special outreach to young adults and ways to make the website and the first visitor experience even more welcoming for newcomers. And now John.
Thank you. I'm going to talk about our minister and staff. We highly value what they do for us and their commitment and expertise. Reverend Carter's part-time 50% contract will need to be renewed in June. Great news is that she has agreed and is committed to continuing with Westside. Ideally, we would like to increase her hours as the budget allows gradually. This year's budget, approved by our membership, added life and disability benefits and the small salary increases. Shannon, our administrator, has 38 hours per week. And Scott, our music director, there he is, 15 hours per week. And Jade, who recently transitioned from part-time contract to employee, has 14 hours. And Nate and Henry have also become part-time employees. The board is working with the Finance Committee and a small task force to update the job descriptions consistent with the UUA guidelines and recommendations. As board members, we encourage everyone to be mindful of the minister and staff's workloads. You saw how many hours they have to do all that they accomplish. So we want you to show regular gratitude to our talented minister and staff. Thank you.
Next slide, please.
I just want to say we've been so fortunate to have Jade Wild step into a position of leadership with our RE at a time we really needed someone with a vision, and she brought it. Children, youth, and families are at the center of our spiritual community. Under the skilled guidance of Jade Wild, our part-time director of religious exploration, our RE council, we're also very fortunate to have, as well as dedicated volunteer leaders and teaching teams. Our RE program is gathering momentum in inclusive, collaborative, and collective ways. On the 1st through 4th Sundays, an all ages Connect and Explore RE class is offered with 4 experienced teachers and the priority of building relationships and belonging. Together, they are creating a sacred space that fosters fun, hands-on activities and radical inclusivity as the group explores ideas central to our values and UU principles. Our RE youth group meets on 2nd and 4th Saturdays. In addition, a parent group is now meeting on the 3rd Sundays, offering opportunities to discuss topics such as cultivating values and parent self-care, which I know many parents value. Jade is also authoring a regular Inside RE newsletter for families, which highlights upcoming RE classes, activities, multi-gen congregational opportunities, and parent resources. Please thank Jade and our RE volunteers for nurturing our children and youth in powerful and meaningful ways. And of course, they are not here right now. Some of them are, but many of them are not here right now because they're downstairs with our youth and children. Thank you. Tracy.
Great. We've also been focusing this year on strengthening the bonds between us and deepening our healthy connections with each other. And this work has included, the themes are sort of building connection, which Lisa talked about, but it's also, we've been building that through our community circles, our healing circles. The community circles happen the first Sunday of each month. And they're a great opportunity to get to know one another in a deeper way. Also, building skills. Mike talked about the nonviolent communication skills, and we've really been trying to have that become part of our culture, that everybody understands what deep listening is, reflecting back, and those circles are a really good opportunity to practice those skills. And also, our core team and our well-being team are really committed to helping expand those who understand those skills. And then also healing. Healing is part of being a healthy community. So healing the harms, and we're doing that through our healing circles and other methods. This year, we're also working on a covenant, refreshing our covenant, and that's really going to be a focus through the end of the year. So we're just kicking that off, and if you'd like to be a participant, I really encourage you to get involved in that process, and we'll be talking more about that and getting more information out about how we both describe and kind of document how we want to work together and be together with one another, and then what are the practices that we need to develop within our congregation so that we continue to make sure and check in that we're in alignment with that covenant. Another piece of this is the Racial Justice Change Team and the Equity Tool, which talks about and helps us consider whether and how any kind of policy decision or action that we take is equitable and inclusive. And we have a new exciting pocket guide to the Equity Tool, like 3 little questions to ask yourself when you're in a group that's making a decision. And we have a whole refreshed, new, more full service equity tool that we'll be rolling out soon. So.
Shelley Webb will be updating us on our budget today, but as part of our board update, we wanted to point out a few budget and operation items of note. As responsible stewards of our congregation, we must live within our budget while seeking ways to increase our financial resources to cover equitable salaries for our staff and potential increases in hours for our minister. We would like to thank Shannon in particular for being responsive and attentive to our renter, leaps and bounds, and securing a rental renewal agreement this year. We especially thank the Facilities Committee, the Landscape Team, and Shannon for maintaining our building and grounds this year. Building upgrades and repairs have included exterior repair and painting of the sanctuary window trim, parking lot restriping, regular monitoring of roof drains to avoid internal leaks, LED replacement for selective fluorescent fixtures, replacing the troublesome gas range in the kitchen with 2 new induction ranges to reduce harmful emissions and increase safety. I know Facilities is proud of them. Purchase of new pots and pans for our new induction ranges, and furnace repair for failed control wire and sealing around a burner.
All right, next slide, please. So you've heard a theme for all the board members today. Growing, connecting, and collaborating. This is the focal point of this board this year. Growing our congregation increases opportunities to expand our Sunday services and programming options, potentially increasing our ministers' hours, addressing staff cost of living adjustments, expanding our volunteer and leadership pool, deepening our impact on our community, and ensuring our sustainability and legacy. Relationships build congregations. Relationships can build this congregation. We know that newcomers are more likely to return if they personally connect and are welcomed when they first arrive. On my first day at church 18 years and many children ago, I connected immediately with 3 wonderful, warm humans posted outside of service with light in their eyes and love in their hearts. And I came back again and again and again. Where can we start creating friendships and community relationships within and outside of Westside? And even more important than connecting to grow our congregation is that connection is the number 1 determiner of resilience. I'm going to say that again. Connection is the number 1 determiner of resilience. We all go through things. Life is hard. Things will come. But by connecting, we will ensure that we have the best opportunity to not only survive the hard things, but to thrive. I would like you to ponder the creative ways that we, and you, can invite others into our community, how we can partner with other organizations to increase our public profile, and welcome others in. The board is enthusiastic about collaborating within Westside and outside of Westside, and invites all of your good ideas and good actions to growing, connecting, and collaborating. Lisa?
Well, looking ahead, there are two important ways that you can support Westside and connect with others. So please save the date for our stewardship month. Is the month of March is our stewardship month. We'll have small gatherings, we'll have a stewardship Sunday, and a celebratory lunch. And I am even more excited about our auction week in late April, especially the pajama games party on Saturday. So starting on April 21st, you can bid online on community dinners, activities, local business services, delicious homemade goods, and other special items. So now, as we've mentioned a few times in this service, is a great time to think of events, services, or items you could offer. And I especially love all the creative dinners and other gatherings that people dream up to bring us together in fun and fellowship. The auction team, Laura especially, will be accepting donations downstairs at our auction table. And then please keep an eye on the e-news for more stewardship and auction info.
And Mike West, who else do we have on our team?
Auction team, Shannon, Mike West, Leah, and me, and Liz Bucklew. All right, so I'd like to move to the next slide, Henry. And so now we would like to express our gratitude as a board for all of those involved in our engaging Sunday services twice a month and the First Sunday Community Circles.
I would like to express gratitude to all those involved in our small group activities, covenant, meditation, music, food bank, and so much more.
I would like to thank all of those who have participated in our community circles, in our healing circles, and everything else related to strengthening our community and healthy relationships.
All those who care for our building, parking lots, and garden, we show our gratitude. And our skilled professional staff supporting services, committees, and operations, which I mentioned before. Stole your thunder there, Jim.
John was kind enough to read my line for me.
And we're really thankful for that we have a steady renter. Think about that. Month after month, we have a fabulous steady renter, which helps us so much. All who give annual pledge, whatever is comfortable for each of us, and we change over time. Our new members, yay. Those who bid at our auction, people who give at the community plate, those who invite friends to Westside, and or send in practical things like the thriftway receipts. Thanks.
All those who are active leaders and volunteers who nurture our congregation. Woo, she's here, Jade, from children to adults. And we have so many people who are participating in that, and we're grateful to every one of them.
So really what we're saying with this gratitude is thank you to everyone in this room and beyond, and everyone who makes this a wonderful community. Give yourselves a pat on the back, hug, whatever. You got bragging rights. Okay, now we're going to turn it over to Shelley from our Finance Committee, who's going to give a budget update.
Just waiting for the finance slides. I hope they exist. There you go. Perfect. All right, so my name is Shelley Webb. I am the chair of the West Side Finance Committee. The Finance Committee is comprised of myself and Shannon Day and Ruth Herman and Jim Schlau, our treasurer. Sorry. I think when I get a little nervous and my throat kind of closes up when I do public speaking sometimes. I don't think that's rare. I'm going to show some graphs. I did want to say I appreciated the reflection on work this morning, and it reminded me of when I was in kindergarten. My mom was called in for like the parent-teacher conference because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. And if you finished your work early, then she had workstations all around. There was like the coloring workstation and the Lego workstation. But I didn't do any of those. I didn't participate. And when asked why, I was like, well, I'm not going to do work. I just finished my work. I'm not going to do more work. So they had to convince me that, no, work can be fun. Like, it's just a word. So this is work I do after work, and I think that it's fun because I like Excel spreadsheets. All right. All right, so this is a graph providing an update on our income. So the gray bar at the top is what our budget was. The orange bar is where we are at this point in the year. So this is financials through December. So we're exactly halfway through our fiscal year. So that orange bar is just halfway mark of the gray bar. There's no more fancy math to that. The dark blue bar is where the money has come in to date. So if the blue bar is a little bit longer than the orange bar, then we're trending well on income. And then the light blue bar with the dotted lines around it is what we call the forecast. So based on what we know today, this is where we predict we're going to end up by the end of the year. So a few things to call out. That while pledges are coming in year to date slightly better than the orange bar, we do know that pledges in hand are about $5,000 less than we had planned for. So, we set the budget, but sometimes all the pledge cards aren't in, and so we make our best guess. So that is less, and sometimes prior year pledges come in, and sometimes it's a lot, and sometimes it's a little. We always budgeted at around $2,000. It was only $500 this year, so we're also less on that guesstimate for prior pledges that didn't come in. So overall, we're about $6,500 less on pledges at this point. Everything else, you can see, well, for fundraising, there's not an orange bar yet because we haven't had the auction yet. So, there's not a blue bar yet. So, yeah, that one's a little bit misleading. But come to the auction. Our rentals are steady. Sunday Plate has been amazing, so thank you for that. Programs and miscellaneous, that's primarily interest income. And so interest rates are doing very well these days. And then RE is on schedule. We did have some special gifts, so we budgeted $0 for special gifts, but we have a congregation member that when people patronize their business, then they give us 1% of that. So that's been really nice to see us support each other and then support the church. And some other ongoing, just gifts from people that don't count towards pledges. So overall, that's the little inset graph. Everything else is running as expected, but there's this gap that's around $4,400 between what we wanted and what we got. All right, expenses. Same thing, gray bar is the budget, orange is halfway in between, the blue is where we are year to date. So staff expense, that's where a large bulk of our pledges and other income goes towards. We were able to offer life and disability insurance for all of our staff. Some chose not to accept it, and some were not actually able to enroll in it. And so we budgeted for it, but we're not going to spend all that's there. Liability insurance is running a little higher than expected, but then on the positive side, we had fewer nursery expenses than we thought that we were going to need. So overall, expense-wise, we are just about right on target with what we thought. Next slide. Okay. So overall, forecasted income is running about $4,700 less than forecasted expenses. The negative side, the negative variances, pledges decreased, and our liability insurance was higher. On the positive side, we got the special gifts. And it's not positive, it's a positive variance, but we didn't need the nursery expenses, and then the life and disability insurance was also a positive variance. And then we have these funds. So all those graphs were about like our general fund and our primary budget, but then we have special funds that are kind of set aside, and the three biggest ones are operational reserves, and so we have $99,000 in our operational reserves, and there's been no change to that. We have an accessibility fund balance that has not been spent, and there's been no change to that. And then we have the building fund, and we've spent about a little less than $14,000 on all those wonderful things that Jim just called out. So that's money well spent. And the last slide. So again, we are running a little less. I don't mean to belabor that point. I'm realizing now that showed up a few times. But facilities team is doing a great job catching up on deferred maintenance. And I just want to thank everyone for your continued support of our congregation and community with your pledges and your Sunday plate contributions and auction contributions and bidding on things at the auction. So I have another save the date, April 21st through 27th. It's our next big financial event. And I'm happy to answer questions in the social hall afterwards for those who want to dig into the details. Thank you.
Thank you to all our presenters. I hope you will talk to them because they have so much more wisdom to share. And thank you all for sticking around for that report. We are going to close out our time together before the social hour, and I invite you to please rise in body or spirit for our closing words. These are from Krista Tavez. It is our work, shared with each other in covenant, that creates and sustains this beloved community. We extinguish our flame, but its light will live on. In our going forth throughout our lives, the light of this faith lives on in us together, in our hearts, minds, bodies, and spirits. Amen and blessed be. And I will invite Mike forward to release our flame, and as he does so, may you go into this week blessed and blessing the world. We hold you in our love as you go.
And please join me in singing our fivefold amen. Lots of energy. Amen. 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 Sing it over.